Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Level 1 News. Today is May 10th, and today we're doing government and social news. Any other updates? Just on personal level? There was a duck in my yard this morning.
Oh, how exciting. Did you name it?
No, but my cat and dog were very excited about it.
Did you let Rue out to investigate?
No, Cricket was more interested than Rue. Cricket was just chirping at it like, burp, burp, burp.
Yeah, cats, they definitely, there's something inside them that makes them want to kill birds.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if I had let him out, he probably would have killed that duck. Maybe.
Could have filmed it. Put it on Facebook, and then some poor person would have to watch it and ban it.
And if something inside you, this episode of the news is brought to you by Linode. Get a $100 coupon off of Linode if you've never signed up below. We've done tutorials and stuff. Linode's amazing.
If your motivation is not killing birds, but developing on Linux, or just using it.
It's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Great segue.
Well, I mean, that is the big problem, right?
It's a darkness inside you that you have to deal with.
It's never going to get adopted because they won't stop making it obtuse.
But you could build your own WireGuard or your own self-hosted media library or your own self-hosted anything, or just level up skills to switch jobs because never been a better time.
And because it is obtuse, guess what? That makes you valuable in the workforce, because it does kind of run the internet. And part of that internet, part of the tools that you can use things like Linux and Linode for, we don't recommend it, but you could do it, is to track your fellow man and follow all of their moves and watch them and claim it's anonymized, but that's been disproven so many times at this point that it's just insulting.
CDC tracked millions of phones to see if Americans followed the lockdown orders from the thing.
We would never do this, says CDC when they announced this.
Yeah, this could never happen, just like the passports and all the other stuff.
How did they do it? Did they do it with a surreptitious access to the surveillance network that's law enforcement? No.
Well, they did exactly what law enforcement does.
Yeah, they bought your data. So when you're playing free games that incorporate certain libraries, yeah, your location is being transmitted and aggregated. They paid $500,000, give or take. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be playing games. In fact, some of the kinds of apps that you would think, well, this is such a simple app, it doesn't really even need connectivity because it's just all about me and you never need to share this information. But every app that you install, you must be super, super, super suspicious of, because
as Roe v. Wade reversal looms, should you delete your period tracking app?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
probably should.
I don't know why anyone really used these before, I guess, but just use a calendar and mark it in red.
You could just do a lunar cycle calculator or calendar, right? And then just...
Well, usually, like when I was younger, I used to just use a calendar.
That's not a thing.
Do you not know the crazy the medical thing where girls will sync if they are next to each other?
Yeah.
So that happened in the ladies' dorms a lot.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, and things you can be thrown off by things like stress and, maybe you eat badly a week, whatever. It can be different. But with the possibility of the government looking at it and then being like, hey, you didn't get your period when you were supposed to, that could be maybe bad.
And that could be, a $10,000 treasure hunt if you're in Texas, which is just appalling.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, but can you trust it anymore?
No,
probably not.
There've already been a couple. We have the famous case here where the Native American lady was jailed because she had a miscarriage, which is third world nonsense.
Didn't they point out that the Navajo Nation was particularly targeted by the CDC?
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that as I read that, and it's like these things all go together. ... Sad face.
But when they're not spying on your periods or your medical data, they do have the old-fashioned spying tools. Those are still there. Yeah, the same ones that everybody was so up in arms about years ago. The only difference is they're using them twice as much than they did last year.
Twice as much.
Yeah.
Spy report, 3.4 million warrantless searches of U.S. data under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act.
Last year was what, 1.2?
Yeah. Look, if the foreign intelligence surveillance is already that here in those kind of numbers, we've already lost.
You think we're in the 3.4?
Oh yeah. I mean, how do you even have staff to search that? Is that just somebody? Is that like when I get frustrated with Google and I just start typing things into Google without reading the search results, how do you get to 3.4 million?
And you got to think that probably the whole war situation stepped that up. But this was the previous year's numbers.
Yeah.
So next year is going to be a real blockbuster number. And another thing that definitely affects us, although not to the same extent, has to do with those pesky video card prices. Ooh, they're bad. And as a consumer...
But maybe improving.
Yeah, but that's unrelated to this. As a consumer, that was annoying. But as an investor, it might have been even more annoying. Because NVIDIA, they insisted that those were gamers buying all those cards. The data doesn't back that up.
SEC has charged NVIDIA Corporation with inadequate disclosures about the impact of crypto mining. Is this from 2022? Well, the news item is from 2022, but this is actually over the boom and subsequent crash of 2017 and 2018. So imagine what it's going to be like by the time they roll forward to like 2021 or 2022. I think the SEC is going to use this to extract a lot of money from NVIDIA, which is, I mean...
Inadequate disclosure is such a kind way of saying lying. It was an inadequate disclosure.
I mean, you could make an argument, I guess, is like, oh, we were super surprised by that. But then when you see like how much NVIDIA knows, how much telemetry they have, if you have a card that's running 24 hours a day,
they're just really dedicated gamers.
They're not playing Overwatch.
I think it's also that it's not just the telemetry and the other stuff. A lot of these larger crypto miners negotiated directly with NVIDIA to buy the entire shipping container.
Yeah, I bet they were like, hey, we want to play a lot of Halo.
We're opening a chain of gaming restaurants.
That'd be funny if they were smart. They would equate certain games with certain cryptos. Right? Like Ethereum could be Call of Duty. So they're like, hey, send me 500 more units of Call of Duty, please. Thank you. But the SEC is very focused on cryptocurrency. They want to get control of it because controlling the money means controlling the people. So not only are they looking at the producers of these things, they're looking at other people who are using them.
The SEC launches a hiring spree to fight cryptocurrency fraud. I was really hoping in this article, because it describes, it's like, oh, we're expanding an existing task force for blah, 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 and they're going to rename the task force to be cryptocurrency and cyber fraud, something like that. I was looking for just a hint that maybe they hired one or two other people to look into just good old-fashioned securities fraud, like with the short sellers or anything like that. There's no hint that they're hiring anybody else to look into that stuff.
Also, the spree is like 20 people, which doesn't seem like that many.
I heard they're launching a working group on that, and they're going to put Nancy Pelosi in charge. That's fake.
It's fake news. Don't repeat that.
And crypto is an interesting world in terms of regulation, because now we're starting to get this piecemeal of state control, just like we did with the whole internet censorship stuff. Some people want to do a lot of it. Some people don't want to do a lot of it. California, interestingly enough, seems to be on the pro side, although I suspect this means cryptocurrency sans Bitcoin.
Yeah. California governor signs executive order to spur crypto industry in the state. The order prompts the creation of a regulatory framework for blockchain technologies and crypto financial assets. This article from CoinDesk misses out on pointing out the relatively obvious conflicts between what they're doing in California and what is happening at federal law, or at the federal level, because we covered, what was it, last week? It's like interest-bearing crypto is a huge thorny mess, and the SEC will come after you.
And proof of work. They don't like proof of work because of the climate.
Yeah. So this would seem to be at odds with some of the things that have been said at the federal level.
And at odds at some things that were said across the country.
New York is close to Bitcoin mining crackdown, and here's what that means for the industry. They were really quick to point out in this article what you were saying about how when it's proof of work, they're not interested in it, but proof of stake is okay.
I think it's more about you're never going to get a hold of the crypto control right now, right? It's too mature. There's too much built on it. It's too far gone. Other people have most of those coins. But if you can get in on the ground floor and control the other currencies, you could get all your control back.
Oh, and so New York's control here is about, okay, we give up on Bitcoin, but we'll control Ethereum when they roll over to...
Exactly. Yeah. And then we'll be back in charge of the money, but people will think that we're giving into it. Although what we're really doing is only accepting the ones that we like and can control. There's going to be a lot of Ethereum sycophants in the comments. There's going to be like 5 paragraphs about why that's wrong.
I'll take it. It's engagement. Engagement for the algorithm. Woo!
They're talking.
Now they're not going to comment at all.
No, that doesn't stop them. It never has.
It's going to punish us with no engagement.
Another industry that the powers that be seem to be very intent on cracking down on, in order, in my opinion, to gain control, is cars. Those cars have been too free for too long.
The Biden administration begins a $3 billion plan for electric car batteries. What do we need to do to get supply of the minerals, and what do we need to do to get manufacturing happening here?
That would be conquer Asia.
Also, probably the EPA. The EPA's got some problems with the way that companies manufacture batteries in terms of like what they leave behind.
No, that's super green.
Super green as in glowing from all of the gamma radiation.
The end product is green, but the way it got here was not.
And the, I suppose the slippery slope, the anaconda of control of copyright continues to constrict more, and things that we thought we wouldn't see in this country that we saw in other countries have now started to creep in.
Every ISP in the U.S. has been ordered to block 3 pirate streaming sites. ISPs ordered to block pirate websites by any technological means available.
Had you heard of these 3 sites?
No.
They're like Israel something.
Yeah, so this is all Israeli made content, and it's only in Hebrew and the other languages they speak there. So they hate that that's getting out of the country outside of their control. And they clearly have a lot of power in these courts.
Yeah. The really chilling thing about this is that it was done in absentia, meaning that the people, they didn't even really seem to me to put a lot of effort into trying to find the people behind the sites. And so this was basically unchallenged. So the copyright cartels got everything that they asked for. This is a very dangerous precedent because in the future, when they want something, they're going to challenge it in court, and they're not going to, there's going to be a disincentive for them to find the people that are actually involved in order to respond to or fight back. They could just ignore it.
They use the DNS contact info. Who would ever use DNS contact info that's not the real info? Everybody who registers a domain and has any sense.
Yeah.
Why would you put your real info on a domain in the age of doxing?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But they're like, oh, they didn't respond. Guilty.
Yeah.
Great.
It's going to be more shenanigans.
They said you got to block it through any means necessary. Most of these people will do DNS blocks because they're stupid and lazy. They'll probably come back.
Yeah.
And we're like, no. We said you have to block it.
Yeah. Because it's unchallenged. It's the thin end of a wedge that can be used for bad things. I really hope that all of this makes more people realize that the copyright maximalism that we're on now with Disney basically in charge is maybe an oops, and maybe we need to roll that back a lot.
I think the people who make those laws have a financial incentive to not understand how much Disney controls.
Disney owns a majority. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They're also brave and doing great things. Haven't you heard?
Go spend your money at a Disney theme park.
Well, New York Post, you spoiled part of the Spider-Man movie for me. And I'm not really all that mad about it. I wasn't that excited about the Spider-Man movie, but I'll watch it. And I don't like knowing that they did this stupid storyline. But now I do, unfortunately. And I know that because the Communist Party of China.
Sony rejected China's demand to scrub the Statue of Liberty from Spider-Man. They use it as a set.
I assume the whole movie's set in New York. How would you not realize that?
Yeah, it doesn't.
They'd have to scrub everything.
Well, but spoiler alert, they end up on it. The Spider-Men, another spoiler alert, thanks New York Post. And so apparently they first went, the CCP was like, can we just remove the Statue of Liberty? And Sony was like, that's the focal point for the end of the movie. And they're like, okay, just remove these panoramic shots of it. And then that won't affect the story so much. But good on Sony, they said, no, we're not doing that.
I think they probably weighed like how much they'd make in China versus all the post-processing work, and they're like, it's a little more expensive to do the post-processing work.
I think there are still enough people who do love their country here in America. It's dwindling, but there are enough of them who would say no.
Are those Sony executives though? I don't think so.
No, but I'm saying they would
that's
face
all money.
I think they would face a backlash. Although the movie already came out here, didn't it?
Yeah.
That probably
I think
went
this
into,
is just a money thing where it was like it's too expensive to redo it.
I would love to see the napkin that the lawyer was writing on in the meeting, and he was like, "Yeah, let's fight it."
Just doing the math, it's literally come down to like $1 on the side of keep it in.
Well, Ireland, they've had an interesting history with the tech world because at some point Ireland said, you know what, we're just going to change all the rules and put the tech companies basically in charge. And taxes, don't worry about taxes. What are you guys talking about taxes? Just come here and build your data centers and bring in all this business. And it worked, but were there unintended consequences?
Data centers now consuming more electricity than rural homes, according to CSO. Electricity used by data centers rises almost a third in 1 year, new statistics show. Not only that, but the amount of electricity your average home uses is also going down substantially. Appliances are more efficient than ever, and new retrofit technologies as well as new building technologies. You'd be surprised. You know, a modern construction house that's like 2,500 square feet only costs about $100 a year. I mean, $100 a month to heat and cool. Which is shocking.
I was like, what are your electric bills like?
I suspect that will go down further, not because of innovation, but because of the crippling bite of inflation on energy prices.
Yeah.
People are going to change those thermostats. And some of them are going to die because they're old. Well, we talked a little bit about batteries, EV batteries. Maybe not the clean, beautiful future that we thought they were, because you do have to build them, and that process is very, very dirty. Dirty. I can't talk today.
None of us can. What's in the water?
So, mine's Nestle water.
Who knows what's in it?
So cocaine then.
Yeah.
By the way, this week, full stock of Nestle water. It was like Christmas. But so Germany has this plan. What they want to do is they want to look at your batteries and kind of like they do with cars, like let's give that battery a VIN number and let's track it along its life cycle so we know exactly how much we got out of it versus what we put into it.
German-funded consortium to develop battery passports to track carbon footprint. Also, not just the carbon footprint, but also how the battery pack has been serviced, because it talked about how, you know, you might have a high-performance sports car, and then that battery pack is rotated down to like maybe a transport ship or something, or a transport vehicle after 2 years. And so it'd be nice to track the history of the battery pack. You know, maybe cells are replaced or anything like that. And it's also nice to know what the carbon footprint of the components are that went into it.
So, I don't know. That is going to introduce a lot more regulation, and maybe it's good. I mean, maybe keep some people from buying a crappy battery.
Probably keep some people from buying a crappy battery, because that is like when we talk about lithium-ion fires, almost all the cases of that are substandard cells or cells that were rejected. Everything is binned. You know, even a manufactured cell, you can analyze it and say, "Oh, this cell's not great. I'm gonna bin that." But then people, you know, put them in a high density pack anyway because they're terrible.
I'm going to avoid that by continuing to use fossil fuels.
While you can.
Yeah, that's the next purchase will probably not be allowed, right? You'll have to go old. But that's fine, because I own the car now and I don't put a lot of miles on it. Well, Apple has once again in hot water, and guess what? Guess what it's for? For not competing fairly. Shocking.
Surprise.
Shocking. So it turns out Apple has a lot of cool new technology. They're constantly inventing it, but what they don't do a lot of is let other people use it.
Apple under antitrust allegations now in Brussels. Woo!
When you tried to read this article, I don't know why, when I scrolled down, it was like all an ad.
Yeah, Benzinga. And then you come down here and it's like trading strategies, but it doesn't show. You think that's more article? No.
No, it's not. It's just
there's supposed to be a read more button or something.
It's just an ad. Yeah, it's strange.
I don't think so, because it's just these bullet points. They're doing the Axios thing. So this is it has to do with the contactless payment, because the only way that you could use contactless payment was to use Apple's apps, because they locked it all down, and they said that was in the name of security, like everything else. But Belgium is saying, no, you got to let everybody use that, because it's not a fair playing field if you don't. And they're looking at a lot of, what was this, like $36 billion. They want $36 billion because they want the percentage of the revenue. Remember when the EU changed that law?
Oh, yeah.
That's a big hit. Apple can't ignore that.
I think Apple's going to have a real tough time with this too, because like think about the mechanism of contactless payments. It's like I've got my little piece of plastic with my little contactless chip in there. If Apple can read that chip and emulate it, then they have no business inserting themselves into that transaction. I've gotten a contactless payment card from somebody else, and I'm storing it in my phone. That's how the mechanism should work. That's not how it actually works in reality, but because they've basically architected a process where they need to insert themselves in the middle, that is anti-competitive. They're gonna have a hard time arguing anything else once the actual technologies of how that works are laid bare.
Well, we already know what the argument is going to be, right? It's safer. I don't think there's nothing to stand on there.
Yeah.
But they'll try, and they have good lawyers. This one was a very late edition. I did not read every detail of it, but you kind of can tell what's going on from the headline. And it's funny because we kind of did this to them.
Yeah.
So turnabout's fair play, I guess, huh?
China orders government and state firms to dump foreign PCs. Beijing aims to drive foreign PCs out of government and SOE offices. So that could cause China to have to replace 50 million foreign-made computers. They're talking about desktop computers and everything else with that.
But the timing of this.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are they going to get that done?
Those chips just aren't out there.
Yeah, and some of their cities are completely locked down, so like half your workforce is not available.
Well, that has to change like pretty soon, right?
I would think.
Not only that, but are they going to do away with x86? Because you got Intel and AMD. Those are your options, really, for x86. You've got the locally made stuff that was originally based on Zen 1 from AMD, but that joint venture is at an end. So maybe it would have to be not even x86.
You're not going to foreshadow the risk story? Well, Russia continued to feel the bite of sanctions, and obviously the big economic ones that are hurting them that way are obvious, but the little ones, the quality of life ones, they can bite as well. But the problem with this particular sanction is that modern movie theaters just have digital projectors, meaning you can project whatever you want as long as it's in a digital format, which kind of invalidates the sanctions, doesn't it?
Russian cinemas are showing pirated movies downloaded from torrents. Okay.
Their motion picture association released a big statement that was like, we're not going to be able to do this much longer, but I mean, obviously they're doing it.
The name of this movie was actually The Batman. They got it wrong.
Meh.
Oh, look, there's the Russian poster.
Are they going to start dubbing them stuff themselves? I mean, that's just gonna. It's like a giant version of North Korea.
Look how similar the word Batman is to our language in Russian.
Batme.
I don't think that's an O.
Oh,
it might be.
I actually don't know.
Any Russian speakers?
Yeah.
So they contacted the movie theater chains, and they're like, no, we don't show the Batman. That's not. But they're like, look at this ad. It's like, no. A private entity rented the room, and they're allowed to show whatever they want. And we're like, yeah, but you were selling tickets. No, we weren't selling tickets.
The
private entity was selling tickets. Yeah.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
And a follow-up, last week we found out that the Catalan, not Catalonian, I don't know why you make that difference, but the Catalan leaders had some nasty surprises on their phones in the form of Pegasus spyware. And we said, who's responsible? Could it be the other parts of the Spanish government? Seems unlikely based on this.
Yeah.
Spanish Prime Minister's mobile phone is infected by the Pegasus spyware, the government says. Is this a smoke screen, or did this really happen?
It's just spyware all the way down.
Pegasus is everywhere.
That's a little bit disturbing, isn't it?
It is.
If it wasn't other governments, but someone above that.
There's a little clip that plays in my head, which is like, we vet our customers very carefully. And it's like, your customers, you'll sell to anybody that's got money, right? Is that how you vet them?
That's the way literally every business seems to work.
Well, maybe there's going to be more chance of that in India, because India has, in their defense, they've been very skeptical of like Facebook coming in or Amazon coming in or Walmart. They're always saying, yeah, I think we know what you guys are here to do. We don't really want that in India. We want something that's more Indian focused.
India to launch open e-commerce network to take on Amazon and Walmart. This is Reuters. So Amazon or India is looking around and saying, okay, we get what you're doing in terms of logistics and fulfillment and connecting businesses to customers. We want to provide that platform. That makes sense. We'll talk about that more in the business section.
And it sounds like Amazon's new thing, right? Where they're opening up their fulfillment and online ordering system to other businesses.
Yeah, see, I've got a weird take on that I think they missed in the article, but we'll talk about that in the business section.
Oh, wasn't that last week?
No, we got another story coming up, I think,
Okay.
about Amazon and they're opening up, and they're actually, well, we'll talk about it in the business section, I hope.
Well, on to social media, and we all know that Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter. Well, I guess it's already in the works. But what we didn't know was where all that money came from. Yeah, he's the world's richest man, but even he can't liquidate $44 billion that quickly. Maybe he could, but I don't think he wants to take that risk. He brought some other people in with him. Now we know who.
Sequoia, Binance, and A16Z back Elon Musk's $44 billion Twitter bid.
Is A16Z another one of his kids, or?
Well, some of them would probably be old enough, right?
Yeah, I think so. He's got what, 8? 7, 8? Maybe Amber Heard is one of his.
It's good, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so all those people, plus some of the existing investors chose, like the Saudi government, they chose not to be bought out. They chose to take investment in whatever the next thing is in the private. So
I was also surprised that Larry Ellison had invested as much as he had in Tesla. A little surprising.
And because Twitter is still publicly traded, like he's going to take it private, but that takes a long time. So right now, you still have to tell everybody everything that's going on, and you have to tell them if there's a possible risk coming up, you know, like the whole NVIDIA thing. And they have to admit this could be bad.
Twitter's latest filing admits that there's a risk of losing advertisers and staff due to the Musk takeover. Now, they might lose some advertisers, but they'll probably gain some other advertisers. And they don't really talk about that in the report.
In the short term, it's going to be hugely beneficial. I don't know about the long term.
Yeah.
The big question is, everybody's going to rush in to see what it's about. Are they going to stay? I don't know.
I feel like Twitter's kind of the worst social network.
Maybe Twitter can buy Wordle, and then that'll solve all their usage problems.
Bake it in. You have to complete the Wordle before you can tweet that day.
That's also foreshadowing for the business section.
But, I just lost my thought there. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. You keep going. I'm just getting a drink.
Oh, I thought you were showing off the...
No, this is I don't have the level one today. Don't look at it. It's not branded.
But they did you see the tweet? I don't think we talked about this last week, but they were like, hey, somebody tweeted all these people, all the staff, they're going to leave because they hate it. And his tweet was just like, well, they can leave if they want. It's a free country. Don't think we need them. But, again, weird timing, because right after Musk bought Twitter, a lot of things happened in rapid succession.
Yeah.
One of which, I didn't add it.
Or he's not bought it yet, but it's
in the process, yeah. Announced.
The New York Times hit piece on him.
That was really a little over the top.
Wow.
But,
they played the race card in a big way on Mr. Elon. And I hate Elon Musk. There is so much history of me hating Elon Musk, but that was a hit piece.
Yeah.
I don't know that he deserved that. So, and also this came out. It's like, oh, this is not quite ready yet, but we're just going to release it now. Why are you releasing it right now? I think I know why.
Twitter's decentralized open source offshoot just released its first code. It's called the Authenticated Data Experiment, Bluesky. So the idea here is to build an open federated messaging platform with lessons learned from the past. This might surprise some of you young whippersnappers, but the original public messaging system on the internet was distributed and replicated by hundreds of providers globally and worldwide because it wasn't feasible to centralize everything. It literally was not feasible. We had a news protocol that was literally made for synchronization. This is a reimagining of that, basically.
And it's on GitHub. You can go get it, but they warn you, don't start using it yet because it's incomplete. So the question is, why release it now?
Well, maybe some volunteers that are going to quit their aforementioned jobs are going to step up and,
yeah, I mean, obviously it's PR.
Yeah.
Do you think they need a lot of gender studies degrees at that new startup?
As long as they're really good with Rust or Go, probably.
I kind of doubt it. TikTok. We hear about all these TikTok millionaires, right? Like some kid who's on TikTok and he's making 20 million a year, and all of that comes from advertising, right? Like promotional deals that person does themselves.
Yeah.
Which is incredible because until now there hasn't been any other way.
TikTok plans to share ad revenue with creators for the first time.
Only the top 4%.
And probably what, like a 5% cut or something? Did it say the percentage in this article?
Let marketers buy inventory in the top 4% of all videos. I don't think they said what the cut was going to be.
It better be pretty damn good.
The more terrifying thing is down here at the bottom, at the very end of the story, where they're like, "What about, like advertisers might not like the content that goes into that?" It's like, "Oh no, there'll be upload filters. For sure, there'll be upload filters because we will guarantee that the advertisers don't get anything they don't like, a la old YouTube."
So TikTok's dead. What's the next one going to be?
Well, I mean, TikTok Pulse is only going to be for the top, so maybe non-Pulse TikTok can still be good. Although, how long until they take that filter and apply it universally?
Everywhere? Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be great. We're going to have people saying, "Oh, I don't have a pulse."
You could call them like zombies or cadavers or something. It's like, oh, they don't even have a pulse.
I think Facebook can say it doesn't have a pulse.
Yeah, Facebook is, Google's been known for this. Come up with a big plan, and when it doesn't do quite what you wanted, just murder it.
There's a website that catalogs like the graveyard of old abandoned Google projects now.
Do we need one for Facebook?
Facebook will shut down its podcast service on June 3rd. Meta is shifting focus.
I didn't even know they had a podcast service.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Like, apparently no one did.
Apparently that's why it's shutting down.
Yeah.
Although, when this started, they went out to some big podcasters or some marginally big podcasters and said, "Oh, we're going to cut you this big deal," and blah, blah, blah. And then they just saw their viewers vanish.
Yeah. I feel like Facebook would be the worst platform for that.
Yeah, oddly enough, like as good as Facebook is at spreading stuff out there, I think it would be terrible for anything like that.
But yeah, it's little quick bursts of information. You don't want a long format thing like a podcast on there.
And because that's not popular at all, right? It's not like the number one podcast in the universe goes for 3 hours at a time.
You're talking about ours, right?
Our podcast is usually only an hour. Well, the metaverse, it's out there, and I guess it's developing. We've still not seen anything too impressive from it, but maybe we're waiting on the new generation of hardware.
Meta plots ambitious VR release schedule for 4 headsets by 2024. Yes, there's at least 3 different battlefronts for PR exposure, talking about how amazing the metaverse is going to be and how they're doing facial micro expressions and tracking everything. It's going to be just like you're there. I don't believe a word of it.
Mm-mm.
Why does one of these characters have regular hands and one of them has like club
blobby hands, like the Wii hands?
Their VR headset doesn't have the individual finger detection.
No, that's the old generation.
Yeah,
it's DLC. Each finger you have to pay for.
A class system.
Gosh, the VR version of blue and green bubbles. Is that what we're looking at?
Here's the most terrifying part. Like, imagine this, and you're gonna be strapped into one of these eventually, because Project Cambria is the future of work.
I don't know.
How amazing is it going to be when you go to your corporate Zoom meeting and it's not like turn your camera on, it's you don't have your headset on. It's like strap in your headset, and it's like it feels like I'm on the special ed bus again.
And it's all sweaty, like you're trying to look at this design that someone's proposing, and it's like I can't see because there's sweat pouring in my eyes.
Could you open your eyes a little wider? The iris scan is having trouble. Just need to make sure that you're paying attention. Well, Telegram is thinking of trying to make money, I guess. They're looking for a new subscription model. And if you're asking, what would Telegram put behind the paywall? Stickers, apparently. I don't know what that is exactly, but you're going to get so many of them if you want to pay.
Telegram Premium subscription is showing up in beta builds of the app. Oh, look, it's the Clown World icon. Yeah.
Well, there's no planet. That's just the clown. You got to put the planet next to it. I don't know that I want to pay $10 a month for these.
Discord does this too. They have Discord Nitro. I think it has other features, but like it's like, oh, you can use emotes across other Discord servers. And it's
don't use Telegram. Use Signal. Telegram's terrible.
This media is too big. Oh, I don't want to do that.
You don't actually want to look at it on Telegram.
here's a little story from The Guardian, which really goes after 4chan. Now, we all know that 4chan is a cesspool. And,
but it's just chaotic, like chaotic neutral. It can go either way.
Not according to The Guardian. They say that it is a call for physical violence, and that cannot be tolerated. However, I have a bit of cognitive dissonance because all this week I've been hearing for calls of violence and doxing of Supreme Court justices. Do you think that happened on 4chan? Because I saw it on Twitter, which is weird because Twitter has policies against that, don't they?
That's weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's odd.
Cheering section for violence. The attacks that show 4chan is still a threat. So this is from The Guardian.
It is kind of amazing in current year that 4chan is still a thing. Like, I kind of expected it to eventually sort of fall off, but people are still there shitposting.
And they so they point out that there was some mass shooter who posted to 4chan, which is kind of a common thing, I think. But then they also go into 8chan. Props to The Guardian for actually figuring out there's more than one.
Yeah. And also knowing that 4chan is a website and not just a single dude.
Right, yeah. So they went through all that, and they really vilify. This, I think, is just calling for more censorship, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, bad people might use it, so we must control it.
I mean, that's the appeal of 4chan, is that it's just chaos unleashed.
Bad people might also use the internal combustion engine.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure, 4chan will generate some shooters, obviously. I mean, they're probably going to do it anyway, right? I mean, I don't think you could turn somebody's mind to that just with text. Maybe some images. But it also produces a lot of our culture. A lot of your hot memes,
They're
that's
from
where
4chan.
they start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not a site I would visit, but I'm kind of in a weird way glad it exists. I have strange feelings about 4chan.
I don't think
I would feel weird about it disappearing from the internet because like that's like an OG website.
It also might be a release valve in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Mixed feelings.
You never want to silence the people you don't like. Don't silence the people you don't like. That's the message.
It'll drive them deeper.
And it just will overall hurt everything. It's a bad idea. And it'll be turned on you in November. VR research. Oh, I just almost read that. I don't know what I was thinking there. But, all right. So VR, the metaverse, they've promised all these new features, and it's going to have to be something really amazing to get the masses to go in there, right? They've promised so much. And maybe this is it. Maybe virtual kisses. Krista, what if you got unwanted virtual kisses?
Oh, that's why you got to have that bubble thing turned on, right?
I guess maybe you could like have something that you pull away or something. No.
Well, they immediately had to add the thing, right? VR researchers have basically figured out how to simulate the feel of kisses. No thank you.
Yeah, the model that's experiencing this seems super uncomfortable even without being able to see her. Yeah, I mean,
the twitch of her lip, that's like the look of disgust.
Yeah.
I like to think that in the video, it was just a dog licking her face.
Yeah.
Or human.
What this doesn't say is that they were actually researching a way that you could experience sweet baby rays on your lips, and they found this instead.
So it's ultrasound, what do they call them? Transducers?
Shut up. That's not what they called it. Transducers? No.
You're too far away to read that with your bad eyesight, Krista?
Yeah, and my contacts are killing me today.
In fact, it says the transducers. The transducers, could they be like the new Transformers?
Poop that changes colors.
I think we probably just got demonetized saying that.
Yeah.
But this thing, it just like it vibrates in such a way. I imagine it's not a whole lot like being kissed, right?
No. Yeah.
I picture it being like butterflies just attacking your face.
Spiders.
Really,
Spiders is where
a centipede crawling across your lips.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be not even that much. Just a brush, just a gentle caress. But it's coming. This is an existing VR headset that they modified. This is not a product that they're making right now.
There's the haptic feedback suits that people play Phasmophobia with, and apparently like the ghost will like touch your arm or something.
Ooh.
And that's apparently pretty spooky, but it's not trying to mimic the feel of a kiss, which I feel like would be more difficult.
How much does that cost?
I assume pretty expensive. I'm surprised that they worked in support for it in the game. That has to be like 1% of the player base.
Yeah. I mean, VR is already pretty low percentage, right?
I would think, but they were one of the first games I think that did support for it as well.
Good job, Phasmophobia, I guess.
Yeah.
I like the guy that's got the racing simulator, but he put hydraulics on the back of his chair, but they were a little overpowered. So it just like threw the chair into the monitors.
Ooh.
They got the flight sims that are full 360 too, which is
Yeah.
incredible. People go to great lengths to. I mean, at that point, you probably just could have bought a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a pilot license.
All right, well, it's government and social.
Woo!
Tomorrow will be
business.
and probably space and robot.
Ooh. I thought it was just going to be business, but we'll have two. We'll see you guys then. Bye!